about this, to think about these exit meetings and what the purposes of them are. And the purpose of them
So we
is,
listening to Howie
like
and them
everything we
right
do,
now.
we're trying to accumulate information. For us to make good decisions, we're trying to accumulate information. But at the end of the day, the decisions are made by us. We understand that everyone has different opinions and perspectives, but we're going to make those decisions. So I say that just in relation to, you asked kind of what Jalen, and that's not fair also to Jalen. He's 25 years old. Like Jalen is continuing to grow and get better, and what we see at 25 is going to be a bit different than 26. I'm just using Jalen as an example here.
So it don't sound like they really. It don't sound like they really talked to Jalen Hurts about letting Brian Johnson go.
That's on me.
They pretty much made the
and we
decision
accept that.
without
So we
him.
don't ask the players to make these decisions. We don't ask the other people who work for us to make these decisions. We try to get information, and we try to make the best decisions we possibly can so that the confetti
So
can
this
fall
is
on our head
Howie's
again, and we can
long
be
way
world
of
champs
saying,
again, 'cause
like,
that's the
no,
only
we
agenda.
didn't consult the players. We take into account their feelings, but we did what we want to do. That's basically what Howie is saying. So Jalen didn't really have a say-so in Brian staying or going.
Things
Long
that we
story
need to
short.
work on. And Jalen is no different than any. We all are going to have a look. We're going to all go look at the things that from the season and say, well, we need to work on this or we need to work on that. Without getting into the specifics of that, because like I said, we all, you guys are going to ask me, what about this? What about that? What the one thing I do know about Jalen is, when people, there are things in his game that he needs to improve. He goes to work and he does it. He busts his ass to do that. I think you saw such a I think that there was a lot of questions after that first year about some things about could he be the passer or whatever the questions were, and he came out and put together an MVP type season the following year. And just the way he threw the ball, the way he delivered the ball, accuracy, all those different things. He just continues to grow.
I agree.
And
Jalen
I
is
said it last year a
definitely
bunch.
driven.
I don't know if we know what this guy's ceiling is because he's going to work and do
drive
everything
him to
he needs
perform
to do.
So maybe he's not good at sitting at the catbird seat.
And for
you know what I mean? Some people are driven better
11 weeks this year, right?
when they're
for
motivated.
11 weeks this year, he was on top of the MVP talk, right? And you guys asked about that, and then he was on top of the MVP talk of where he was through 11 weeks, and we all had a bad stretch through the last portion of it. In fact, there were games like even though we were in a bad stretch as a team, I thought Jalen was playing really good football. So but I get it. Me as the head coach, Jalen as the quarterback, we're going to draw the most scrutiny and the most attention and eyes, and we understand that in the seats that we sit in. But I know that the things that Jalen needs to work on, and the things that we'll sit down together and talk about. And the thing,
okay, so he's clearly admitting that Jalen has to do that because
that's who he is. That's who he's been since the day he's got here. That's why he continues to develop in things that maybe people thought was a negative for him in the past that he's made into a strength. So I have no doubt about the person doing that because I've seen him do it. I've seen him do it over and over again, and I look forward to him doing it with this off season with all the things that we talk about for all of us to improve on.
When you look at what happened this past year, and especially with a lot of noise that we're talking about Nick and possibly just replacement for the outside, what gave you the confidence to bring her back another season and to lead this team?
Because I've seen it being done. I've had the opportunity to work with him, and I've seen what he has done, winning games, put us in a position where we're competing for a world championship, putting us in a position where every year we're in the playoff race and giving us an opportunity with the team to do that.
Basically,
those things are hard to
just
find.
going over Nick's body of work.
I don't
not
know
taking into effect the coordinators and the role that they play, but just going over Nick's overall body of work.
And it takes all of us. We had a tough stretch. If you go back to when we walked off the field after the Buffalo game and we were 10-1, which, I've talked about that time machine. I would take a time machine to do that. That would be a beautiful thing, but we can't. I think there would be a lot different narrative being told, and we can't lose sight of the big picture. We have a lot of good people on this football team. We got a lot of good players. We got a lot of good coaches. We got a lot of good people in this building. I look around this building and I couldn't be more proud of the people. That doesn't mean we can't fight through adversity. That doesn't mean we can't overcome this and take this back to the level and beyond that we were at
So I'm
last
just
year.
curious why
It's not gonna
Brian
take a snap of
Johnson
fingers.
wasn't
We
given
gotta work
these
hard.
same
We gotta do
opportunities
whatever we can
given
to have the
that
right
he was
people,
promoted as a
bring in the
first-year
right
guy,
people
an
to do that,
in-house
but we
guy.
have a lot of
Why
those
wasn't he
pieces in
given the
place.
opportunity
This
to
cover
learn
isn't
and
even
grow?
close to bear.
And since he was part of the Super Bowl run with Jalen Hurts, you didn't see the growth in him that you saw in Nick to give him another chance? Like, these are questions.
It's just like what happened when you had to do a press conference at one time. It's like just
That's what it was, yeah.
what was it?
What's the fire trade?
Oh, it wasn't. Yeah.
It says specifically he will be the top target for the Eagles. I'm just curious if you can comment on that.
We got a lot of good targets that we're working through. You know, and there are a lot of guys that have done really well in their interview process, and look forward to continue on that process. We'll see what happens.
All the evaluations.
I'm never going to discuss what me and my players talked about.
And that's
It's
what,
like
that's what's
such a
tough,
cliche,
right? You're still working,
pointless
and there's some
answer
guys
that
that are
Nick
still
gives.
up in the air.
Just,
You
yeah,
know,
we
I
talked to
hate this for them
Jalen,
because
and
we
we
are
made
replacing
clear what our
coordinators,
decisions
and-
was, and Jalen wasn't
and there's
weird.
guys
That's
that
all
are
you
up in
got
the
to
air.
say, Nick.
And their families are up in the air in the sense of like, I got to get a coordinator in before we make a decision on maybe some of the quality controls or some of the position coaches. I know I believe in the guys upstairs, but you know, also there has to be an ability for some of the coordinators to bring in, you know, maybe one or two of their guys.
Even the
or
guys
more.
upstairs, the puppet masters.
So that's
He
still an
believe in the
evaluation
puppet
process. It's
masters
something that might
upstairs.
not get sorted out until the coordinator's hired, until that coordinator gets to meet with some of the guys, make sure they can work together. And so that's still a process that we're going through.
And over the years, you've been pretty consistent. You've been pretty consistent with us talking about the offense, whether it's, you know, if Shane's here, it's your offense.
That's why I'm so curious as to why he's like, we're going to bring in a new OC. It's going to be his scheme. It's going to be up to him to
Any
make.
encouragement come from outside, or is that something?
Why is nobody asking
Again,
if
I
Brian
just think
Johnson
that
was
right
given
now,
these opportunities in his
we
duties, the
just
same
need
duties that you're planning to give to somebody
some
else?
ideas in from the outside, right? And we need to bring a guy in that with new ideas that's not part of this family of coaches. I think that's an important thing. Or even if it is a family of the coaches that has been somewhere else, and then you could, like it could be any of that. And so that's important. You know, that's important, and because that's important that you're making sure you always evolve, right? And we are blessed with time, and that, you know, college coaches don't have sometimes because they're recruiting, and we're blessed with how much tape we're able to watch, how much tape we're watching on, you know, prospects,
So
and to
much
see the other
rambling,
college
pointless
tape and things
information.
like
Get
that.
to the
So
meat and
the evolution
potatoes,
will not just
as
be
LB would say. Get
of,
to the meat
you know,
and
the things that this
potatoes
new
of
coordinator
the
will bring to
question,
the
Nick.
table. As far as their scheme and things that we may not know a lot about, you know, because it is easy to look out and say, "Oh, I like to do that, like to do that, like to do that," but not know everything there is to know about it. And that's where you're bringing the coordinator in to bring those new ideas. But then we're going to have this time over this next 6 months or 5 months or whatever it is to also study some own ideas ourselves. We'll go to a college. We'll bring somebody in here to make sure we're studying things that we want to learn more about, whether that's something we just want to learn more about, whether that's something that we were
They're just admitting to,
deficient
no
in
matter
last
who
year.
they hire, they're just going to
Those will be
bring
all
in
different
more
topics of
consultants.
what
We
our
went from
professional
being a
development
quarterback
is,
farm to a
and then you also
consultant
have the
farm,
things
a
from
coaching
our offense that
farm.
we've done well in the past. This will be our offense. This will be the Philadelphia Eagles offense.
Now it's our offense. It's not
whoever,
Nick's
you know,
offense. It's an
named the
evolving
coordinator
door. That's going to
offense,
become the
or
Philadelphia
maybe my
Eagles
name
offense.
on it, or whoever.
Why wasn't
Kevin
Brian
Capullo,
Johnson given these
this will be our
opportunities?
offense, and really look forward to, you know, really
Or was
evolving the
he?
offense and some things that I
Was he
believe that by the
given
end
these
of the year,
opportunities, and that's
you
why it
know,
looked like
it got stale, and we saw the way how that ended, and statistically, you know, you finished positive on a lot of different things, but obviously I want to say beauty of what can happen with bringing in this new coordinator and where our offense can go because of it.
A couple more. One of the offense gets so stale.
Trying, bro.
We'll go Zach next.
I'm sorry.
I was saying, why did the offense get so scared? Was it because the quarterback, was the play calling? Why did
We all have a hand in it. We all have a hand in it, and I'll take in anything that happens on that field will always start with me. I don't care if that's offense, defense, or special teams.
But everybody
and so,
else is getting
it'll be on the
fired.
front
You
of that,
survived.
you know, where
It all
staleness
starts with
came
you.
from.
Anything that happens on the
You
field,
know,
anything that goes on in the locker room,
but
it all
we
starts
did,
with you.
know,
But
there's
everybody
things
else
that
around
we
you is
look
losing
at
their
and,
job, but
you know that we can do better, right? And whether that's the pass game, whether it's the run game, whether that's the protections, there's parts of that in all areas that we look at and be like, you know, that wore its course, and that doesn't mean that's your entire offense. That's just portions of it, right? Because you're still going to have staples that are staples for you that can be run against any defense at any time, at any moment. That were just some stale moments of all those phases of the game that I just mentioned.
What perspective do you have now of the roster composition? And you made a few references to wanting to keep playing this weekend, like a team still playing this weekend.
Yo, how we end up hear them reports too. Like y'all heard the way he brought up the TJ Edwards situation, the way I know people think that we just neglect the linebacker position, this, that, and the so they listening.
Then you're kind of getting the leftovers. Like you have to be ahead of it, and I think that when we've had our best teams, we've been ahead of it, and so we continue to study that and try to figure out ways to do that. We study what's successful, what we think will be successful going forward, and I think in roster building, you're not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. I think that you could look at the 4 teams playing right now, and I promise you, we can go over a couple of things they'd like to have back. That's part of it. The most important thing we got to do is we got to have a vision for how we want it to look. We have to have a process that we want to have, and sometimes you can have a vision, you can have a process, and the result's not what you want. And so you got to make sure that you're not overreacting to a result that maybe just kind of was an aberration in the moment. And then you got to
This
look
how we
at
be
maybe
getting
is the
everybody
process
in
right.
those,
So
in
I
those,
think just like
in those
coaches going through
trees.
that,
You see
I think
how
that's
way
one
he,
of the
the
things
slick
we're
way
real
he
about
talk.
around here.
See,
How can we get better?
we know
What
what it
can we
mean,
do
but you
better
see
to
the way he
improve
laying it out?
ourselves? To me, we're at a point here where the only thing that matters is winning. That's the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters is for us to put out a product on the field that gives us the best chance to win a championship every year. And I know we can do that because we've done it. And we'll continue to work as hard as we possibly can to continue to grow and learn from any adversity we have and do whatever we can to overcome that.
Thanks, folks.
Well, that's it. That's the end of the conference. All right, it's your boy, No Easy Outlet, the podcast. We're going to talk about and digest and chew on the fat of this a little bit later. They got up out of there quick for people that was late.